No,
Hey, I
you're good. Go
appreciate,
for it.
yeah, I appreciate everyone being on the Zoom call, and for anyone that's watching on Zoom, I'm sorry, on YouTube. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to ask you guys to just go ahead and put your stuff on mute. Uh, and then once we get started, I'm sure Ashton and Aaron will give you guys opportunities to ask questions to our panelists, and I'm gonna let them introduce everybody. But before we start, I always like to talk about rising coaches, who we are, and why we do what we do. So we always talk about three things with rising coaches. They're really our core values and what guide us through everything that we do, and their community, relationships, and development. And so there's obviously no straight line in athletics, and there's no clear path. And that's why having that community and that support system that knows exactly what you're going through is so important. Um, we're all about genuine relationships, and hopefully anybody who's had anything to do with rising coaches, hopefully they come away with the word genuine uh, being something that they take away from us, because we're not really about passing out business cards and never calling and following up. We really try to promote the genuine relationship part, and we really believe that that will help you both personally and professionally throughout your career. And then finally, development. And obviously, everyone who's contributed content over the last few months and year and 10 years really has done such a great job providing resources and tools for our members and everybody who watches and listens to work on their craft and sharpen the tools in their toolbox. So hopefully everything we do touches on those three things, and I know tonight will be no exception. And I'm super excited that Ashton has this intro video that is awesome. So I'm gonna put my mic on mute and let you guys take it away. But appreciate you guys being here, and take it away, Ashton.
Awesome, thanks, Adam. Here we go.
Darkness closing, just stay focused. I'm not folding, I'll upset you, cause I'm just too dangerous. I'm dangerous. Let's be honest, say no contest. Take those comments and form my concept from the get-go. I just get so dangerous, so dangerous. Yeah, two equal sides, don't equal ties. Yo, I can't.
That makes me want to play basketball every single time I see it.
Yeah, that great video by Shannon Mathis. She's one of our graphics peeps, we call them, and also Ben Tanoff has been helping us. But Aaron, how have you been?
Good. I'm good. It's been very, very, very hot in Denver. As you know, Ashton just got back from Denver. Did you get burnt?
Yeah, I have this little Harry Potter scar on my forehead. I think it's a night scar, but no, my trip, I unplugged for this past week, but I'm really excited to get back and get back to this. This is really exciting. We have two great guests tonight.
Yes, we do. Yeah. As well as to just do our own little intro. So my name's Erin, for those of you that don't know me. I grew up in a suburb of Chicago. I played college basketball. I went to the University of Evansville, and then I transferred out to Damon College in Buffalo, New York. Had a great experience. Actually worked for one of our guests. I was her intern at the Buffalo Sports Commission, and it was just super incredible. I learned a lot. I'm now finishing my master's degree at Southern Illinois, and just moved out to Denver, and I'm loving it. It's been super fun and great. I got to meet Ashton last week for the first time. We never thought that would happen, which is really cool. But yeah.
Yeah, really, really exciting that we got to meet last week and kind of brainstorm on some new ideas. Kind of my background, my name is Ashton Pills, and I'm a current student manager at KU. Like Aaron, I played college basketball for 2 years and then decided to retire from the game this past August, and have been with KU ever since as a student manager. Really excited to be here. We have two great guests, and yeah, just ready to go.
Awesome. So for our first guest, I'm going to introduce her, Allie Pawarski. She is the manager of corporate partnerships, business development at Pagula Sports and Entertainment in Buffalo, New York. She's super cool. I'm biased, but love her. So just a little bit about her. She joined Pagula Sports and Entertainment, where she manages relationships for the largest partnerships for the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Buffalo Bandits, which is the professional lacrosse team there. Prior to joining Pagula, she worked for the Buffalo Sports Commission, and she recruited sporting events like the NCAA men's basketball tournament and the USA Hockey Championships to Buffalo, as well as the Frozen Four, which was super cool. I got to be a part of that and watched it, didn't have to work. And she also had spent some time at the Dallas Sports Commission, where she handled major sporting events there as well. She's been working in the sports industry for 9 years in a variety of fields and areas. And she graduated from St. John Fisher's in Rochester, New York, and she received her bachelor's degree in sports management and marketing, and is currently back in Buffalo, New York, working for the Pagulas. So yeah, Allie Powarski.
Thanks, Ann. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about, two of my favorite things, like sports and women helping women.
Yes, we're great. So glad to have you. Yeah.
Yeah, and our other guest is Natalie Pepsney, and she's the event service coordinator at Intersport. And just a little bit about Natalie. She graduated from LU Chicago in 2018. She got her bachelor's in advertising and public relations and had a couple minors in marketing and sports management. She's dipped her toes in ticket sales, but currently as the event service coordinator at Intersport, she basically heads the notable events such as the Under Armour All-American football game and college slam dunk and three-point championships. And she also wanted to note a little side fun fact that her favorite sports team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. But she did mention that she hopes that they use this quarantine to really study some film and get their act together.
Thank you for that introduction. I want to echo Allie's sentiments. Super excited to be here. Agree. I think this platform is going to do huge things for women in sports. So very excited to be on here as a guest.
Yes, we're so glad to have you also.
Yeah, so our first question, we really like to pinpoint what is one way that you both start your day?
Go ahead, Natalie.
All right. Actually, this is something I implemented maybe a couple months ago. I started, it's so cheesy, but a gratitude journal. So every morning I wake up and write down 3 things that I was grateful for the day prior, whether that's work related, personal related, whatever it might be. It could be the smallest thing. But I think that it really just kind of sets my mind right for the day ahead and to kind of tackle whatever's in front of me.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, it is a good idea. I also have up until recently, thought it was equally cheesy, but it really works. So I highly recommend. I actually end my day that way, just kind of like looking back and thinking like, what did I accomplish? What am I grateful for? But starting the day, I try to do either like some sort of workout or yoga. That's really helped to just get me energized and kind of get inspired for the day. And then usually like typical make coffee and then kind of just start to tackle the emails because usually that adds up quick. And then kind of shut that down and go into now our calls, our Zoom calls and projects and things like that.
Yeah, so just to stay kind of on you, Allie, what is your specific role and like your favorite part about that at Pagula?
So I represent some of our largest partnerships across the Bills, Sabres, and Bandits. So anywhere from like our healthcare companies to New Era Cap, our banking financial company. So really I'm responsible for maintaining that relationship and enhancing it. And really being able to find a way to tell their story to our fans and help drive ROI for them. My favorite part, I would say is that like we're building relationships and really finding out what makes each company unique and figuring out how to tell our fans that story, and to really kind of see it come full circle when it's on game day, or we have a certain promotion and the fans give positive feedback, or they're wearing the certain cap that we're promoting, or they're talking about the certain promotion. Just kind of being able to be part of that full circle piece.
Definitely. Yeah. Natalie, what about you? Your favorite part, or like what's your role and your favorite part of it?
Yeah, so as an event services coordinator with Intersport, so we own and operate about 7 different sports properties throughout the year. So a lot of all-star sporting events for high school and college athletes. And my role with that is a lot of it's just operation side. So doing the hotel contracts, athlete communication, the catering, all of the little nitty gritty that you don't think about. But I think my favorite part of that, a colleague mentions at every event that we have, is just that tangible moment that we're fortunate enough to get in the events industry, where we really get to see all of the hard work come to life. You get to, watch the basketball game, football game, whatever it might be in front of you, and see everything that you've worked for actually, come to life. So I think that'd probably be my favorite part.
Definitely. I always call it like when you sit on your couch at the end of the day and like everything is like your ankles are swollen and pulsating and you're like still super amped about what you just put on, that like you're really exhausted but can't go to sleep because you're still like the adrenaline is still going.
100%.
You're like, no, please sleep. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, both great answers. Kind of talking about more of the sports side, the event side, what has been a win for you in the sense of something that you've done really well that made you realize like I've chosen the right profession and I feel like I'm doing something that I'm passionate about?
For me, it was back when I was in Houston. Aaron, my counterpart, said Dallas would get very upset.
Oh my gosh, wait, yeah.
No,
I'm so sorry.
It's all good. I have to represent them because it's like very much a battle there.
I should have just said Texas.
All good love, yeah. But yeah, so when I was in Texas back in 2011, 2012, I had the opportunity to plan the opening and closing ceremonies for the Junior Olympics. So it's 18 different sports, 6+ different venues, 18,000 athletes. And the opening ceremonies is really kind of that first kickoff major event where everybody comes, they bring their family, their friends. And it's just really a celebration of everything that they've been doing it for that year and in their competition or their competitive sports. So we had fireworks and guest speakers and a torch relay and sports performances. Like there was just, you can imagine the Olympics on just a very, very small scale. And that was kind of one of my first big career opportunities. And just really like seeing it all come together and just that wave of emotion and energy as like the first part of that event goes off is when I kind of knew like, this is where I need to be. This is what I want to do. Like just create that kind of like what Natalie said, that intangible moment for people that just energizes them and puts them in a place that maybe they wouldn't have imagined.
No, I think that's awesome. On my end, I think the first major career win was actually like right out of the gates, got my full-time gig at Intersport, and the first event I got to plan was the college home run derby, and I'm a sucker for baseball. Those players are super respectful. They're so fun to work with. And we planned the entire thing. We were ready to go. And that day, it got completely rained out. It was just an awful thunderstorm that came through Omaha, Nebraska. And so my colleague and I, who got hired on around the same time, it was pretty much just up to us to replan everything for the next day. And so we're in, you know, a hotel boardroom late at night, and you realize that the fact that it's not stressing you out, the fact that you aren't miserable must mean that you're in the right position. And it was more so exciting to tackle this challenge. And so getting to replan everything in 24 hours and then see it come to life again, and celebrate with, you know, fireworks display at the end, with very happy, you know, baseball players, a crowd, all of that, I think was kind of the moment I knew I was in the right career path.
Yeah, definitely. I even like from our conversations that we've had, Natalie, like I know that you love just getting to interact with the players, and like it's usually towards like the end of their eligibility, right? So they can like, there's not as many rules as usual, which I thought was like super cool because that is like a really exciting part of your career. But even just kind of speaking to the craziness, how do you like attack the original plan to events, and then now with this experience with like events not going always how we want, how do you just kind of like attack, like what's your mentality towards that?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I'm such a type A person. Like I love checklists and I love things going right according to plan, and that's definitely not how the events world works. But I mean, you know, my team and I attack it. We create like this big to-do list for each event and who's responsible and what that budget is and all of that, and kind of have a color coding system to see where we are, in the process. So we all have our niche roles where we have our marketing guys, we have our sponsorship people, we have our ops people. And so we all just, you know, ensure that we do our roles as best we know how. We come together probably once a week for status calls and all of that. But we really stick to a shared document where we're all just aware of everything that's going on. And I think over communication is key in our field, where we're just constantly communicating and ensuring that everybody's on the same page. So I think that's probably how we best prepare for events. When things go awry, it's definitely just, you know, thinking on your feet. And I think that's kind of the fun part of it. They warn you when you get into sports and events to expect that nothing will go according to plan. And I thought they were joking, but it's 100% true. But I think that's what makes it fun. And so it's kind of thinking of those creative solutions on the spot, and maintaining a calm mentality. I think the biggest thing is just having a really good group of people that you work with. I'm fortunate to have such a great team where we can, you know, lean on each other in those situations where things go awry. And so we can all just kind of, you know, somebody delegates, we all tackle it, and we figure it out.
That's a great point too. Like things are always gonna, like something is always gonna happen and out of your control, and they're gonna go awry, and you have to figure out how to get through it. But Natalie, I love that. Like you have to have good people around you that you can trust, like just on a team. Like if you don't get along with everybody on the court or figure out how to come together, you're not going to win. You're just not. So I 100% agree.
Absolutely.
Yes. I think that's so important to remember the team aspect and how you can work well with people. That kind of leads us to our next question we had for both of us. How do you guys define a great leader for your teams that you work with, and what are some qualities that individual or individuals would possess?
Somebody who definitely leads by example, you know, kind of somebody that embodies all the traits that you would think. Like we all know what a good leader looks like and feels like, but it's just what is that? Somebody, you know, is definitely a good communicator, somebody that's open, honest, transparent, has a good integrity that you can look up to, and really somebody I think that asks good questions, like that constantly kind of like turns over the leaf and, you know, did you think about this or did you think about that? And kind of, I think asking good questions helps pioneer the way for others to want to follow you.
I 100% agree with all of that. I think, right, asking questions and challenging you to I mean, just to be your best person, I think is huge. I think the biggest thing I always say, I'm screwed the day that I'm not at Intersport anymore because I have the best boss. And I think a leadership quality I see in him is just the fact that he cares for the whole person, and he really is like looking out for you, not only professionally, but personally, making sure, that your mental health on site at an event is okay. And just kind of, caring for every part of you and wanting the best for you, and kind of, hoping that you're going to grow to your maximum potential. So I want to echo everything that Allie said, and then tack that on as well.
Yeah, definitely. Even the like specifically the question part is like facilitating an environment to be able to come with questions, but then also like Allie working with you, I think just like asking good questions, that was something that I think was like a huge part of like my learning experience with you. Was like, not only were our offices like really far away, so I was like, okay, I can't just run to her for anything. This is like junior year Erin, like, oh no. Or just like simple things of like, how do I input this in like Excel? But like you really challenged me to like ask good questions and to ask like full circle questions that weren't just like I'd try to figure it out first before, going just like running to you, which I think like really challenged me to, and definitely something like I do today. Like I try to figure things out first and then go ask the question, but then also like knowing that I can trust you, like even if it is silly or not. So definitely asking questions. It's like very simple but hard thing for sure. Another kind of like question for the both of you is just like, what valuable lessons have you learned throughout your time, whether that be like a huge mistake or the wrong call, or even just like making the right call or things like that. I think the biggest thing about events is like learning from the past. You always want to like improve. So just like if you guys could speak to that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think I kind of touched on it before. I think, the biggest lesson, if anything, is just to expect the unexpected and bring that on as an opportunity rather than, a setback. I think that's probably one of the greatest lessons. And I think the other one is just, I mean, truly like how important personal connection and relationships are. I know Allie touched on that earlier, but I mean, I just think that, we're in the business of, creating experiences for people. And I think that, personal connection and truly like honesty with that personal connection, if you mess something up, come by it honestly, celebrate the wins together, all of that, whether it's personal connection with a colleague, with a vendor, with an athlete, whatever it might be. I really think that that's something, that you can take away and just learn to apply that, in all aspects of your life.
Yeah, I agree with Natalie as well. Like relationships are huge. So taking the time to invest in that while you're investing in yourself and working on your craft, but like building that community and almost like being inclusive, like constantly thinking like who else should be involved, who else would help build the team and be of importance. And then being authentic for sure. Being your true self and riding that through and through, and then kind of like, I guess not the negative but the other side of the coin, controlling what you can control and not letting others emotions or situations impact your own. I'm somebody that wears like my heart and emotions on my sleeve, so just trying to kind of like remember, I can control what I can control. I can't control what Natalie's going to say or how she's going to react to my idea. But as long as I kind of stick to like my core values and I'm kind, then I'm doing the right thing. So just kind of remembering to be inclusive, I guess, but also just kind of to stay in your zone.
Yeah. All these words are sticking out, like relationship, inclusive, genuine, authentic. that kind of ties back to, at the beginning, Adam talked about what Rising Coaches stands for. We try to create those genuine relationships when we're networking. Could you both just talk about how you've been able to build your network in each of your businesses and organizations, with vendors, athletes?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's something that actually, my dad really stressed to me in college, was just the importance of networking in general. So that just became like my obsession in college, was to network with as many people as possible. It started with, professors, and then from there was people within the industry. And then once you actually get into the industry, I do think that the biggest thing that I take away in terms of, building these relationships is, everybody's on a level playing field in a sense, and nobody is lesser than anybody. So your vendor isn't lesser than, your star athlete, whatever it might be, because you need all of those people to put on an event. So I think treating each encounter with that mentality has truly helped. I love my hotel contacts down in Fort Myers, Florida, and I touch base with them, once a month at least. And but I also equally love my athletes that I get to watch on my big screen pre-corona and all of that. So so I really do think that, just approaching each and every encounter within the industry with that mentality of, hey, we're all trying to make it, we all have our niche, whatever it might be, is only going to set you and everybody else up for success.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say networking, above you, below you, and either side too, like Natalie's point about the vendor. You just never know who that vendor is connected to, or you might meet them down the road. That may help you in another situation, and kind of keep building that circle from there. And then staying in contact with them too. There's people I still talk to that I worked with Houston several years ago. One, because it's just, that's who I am. It's a human component, but also, you spend so much time building relationships with these people to, stay connected, and you learn from them. And, with all the COVID-19 stuff, we're talking to, it's helpful to talk to those people in Houston, like, how are you handling the sport industry? What are you doing? What are ways that you're providing touch points to your partners? We can all kind of help each other when you stay connected like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Ashton.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
Even, yes, like speaking to the current situation, like COVID, like you guys are in events, or like you're in sports in the NFL, and Allie, you have like an insight to kind of how things like that are going on. And Natalie, like you still have clients and accounts and customers. What kind of has been the positive moving forward moments of that? And even if not, if there aren't any, but just like speaking to kind of like, how are you guys looking to come out of this stronger than what it was in the past?
Well, certainly building on the relationships. I think we've our group for sure has talked to people a lot more. And just also, again, adding that human component. So it's talking about business, but also like meeting them where they are. And just remembering the importance of relationships. And then kind of coming out stronger of that way, but also like seeing things from all angles. Like right now, for really both the NFL and NHL, we're not sure if there's going to be fans. Like there might not be, there might be. So we're planning for all scenarios, to just like you plan and practice for the next game. Like you're doing your own work, but also prepping for that specific opponent. And that's exactly what we're doing, just to make sure that we're prepared, and we won't get stressed on event day, because there won't be as many curveballs thrown at us, hopefully, at that time. But it just shows you how much like quality time is so important with people during this.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the personal component is huge, and that's something that, our team touches on a weekly basis of just, make sure that you're keeping in contact with anybody that you've worked with in the past, whether it's, the athletes, the vendors, the hotel contacts, just that personal connection is huge. And I think the thought of coming out stronger with all of this is just, I have seen more creative thinking than I ever thought I would have prior. I mean, Intersport has very creative minds, and I get to see that on a daily basis. But then with, everything turning digital, with, clients asking us to, completely shift our focus because of what's going on, it has been really incredible to see everybody kind of work as one team rather than in specific departments, and really stretch your way of thinking in terms of how to create different solutions for our partners, for our clients, for each other, honestly. So it's definitely a tough time for everybody, but I do think that the personal connection and the inspiration that's coming out of this is going to prevail.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we've seen some of the best examples of creativity through Twitter and Instagram and on different platforms. I feel like the industry as a whole has come together as this huge community and everyone's leaning on each other. So I totally agree. Kind of adding on to that personal connection, just flipping the switch to mentors, like who are some of the people that have helped guided you in your career? And could you just speak on the importance of finding those mentors that you can rely on?
Go ahead, Nan.
Okay, I know I'm like bouncing back and forth. I think if anything, I mean, my first mentor, I kind of like latched onto in college was a sport management professor of mine, and she is the one that put me in contact with people for my first sports internship, and just really encouraged me. We would meet for coffee, once every other week or whatever it might be, and she's just the driving force behind what made me so passionate and excited to be in this industry, which was awesome. And then from there, meeting different people within those internships. I think my first internship, the individual I reported to, she and I are like absolutely best friends now, and she was constantly just encouraging me, and from there at Intersport, my boss is absolutely incredible. He's everything that I hope to emulate as I continue to climb the ladder in the industry. So I think you have to find people that are just constantly going to encourage you and just want to see you succeed and want to see you grow. And I think that's the biggest thing is they're gonna help you in whatever it might be. If it's not, if you don't want to do exactly what they're doing with their career, like they still care and they still want to see you grow, and they're gonna put you in contact with the right people. So sometimes those people are hard to find. I was lucky enough to stumble upon them in each kind of point in my career path. But I do think that it's just so important to surround yourself with mentors, with people that are going to encourage you and push you to continue to grow, because it's the only way that you're going to be able to succeed.
Yeah, for sure. I love the mentorship programs, but for me too, it's been very just like a natural progression, and it hasn't been the same person throughout my whole career, whole life. It's changed with jobs or where I've lived, or maybe just like personally what I've been, addressing at that time. But each person has been significant to that. So, and it's not something that was formally like, okay, Allie, meet Aaron, and Aaron's going to help guide you through life. It was, it's just natural that like it happened to be a boss. Sometimes it was someone that I didn't get along with at all in the organization, but they challenged me to be better and to grow. And a lot of times I look back at that and maybe it was like kind of the tough love, but I always remember those things because they stick in your head. and, certainly those people too that you can just have great conversations with. And, again, those who are going to help build you up, help you grow. It's not going to always be the sugar-coated advice. It's going to be what's real. And finding somebody that really knows you. And I say love, like that's a strong word, but who loves you unconditionally, who has your best interest in heart and is going to help you achieve where you want to be.
Yeah, I love that response. We had someone on a few weeks ago that shared, you want to find mentors and people that are going to tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So I totally agree with the tough love part. I think that's very, very vital. We want to jump into our viewer questions now. So we'll call on Adam. He had a question. You can unmute yourself, Adam.
Thanks, Ashton. Both of you guys, I guess kind of in your job description have to be doers, right? But my question is more about like building a team and delegating, which I personally have issues with. I'd much rather get something done myself, but at some point you do have to delegate. So just curious if you guys had advice on that.
I think knowing who's on your team, because everybody's going to have different strengths and weaknesses. And this is something before COVID, we were talking a lot about with our team and our department is, sometimes we always focus on the person's weakness that maybe we should focus on highlighting their strengths. And so, maybe this person, has great ideas, but isn't the best executor. So we're not going to put that person in the executing role. We're going to put them in the idea role. So kind of just building a team that way and making sure that you're having a strength in each area, and maybe somebody who complements that weakness too.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think on our end, I mean, building, your team in general, I think we're really fortunate. My team is in that we are just all really close. We really get along outside of work as well. So I think that, really translates into our work. But in terms of delegating, I agree with what Allie said. I mean, you have to focus on people's strengths. Otherwise you're going to set them up for failure as well as the team. But I really do think that in terms of delegating, I think it's just important to, again, I've stressed on it before, but over communicate. You definitely want a balance of a balance of like delegating and letting somebody, do their own thing. You don't want to micromanage by any means, but I do think that over communication is key right off the bat so that person can really learn, feels, no pressure in terms of asking questions. And then from there can kind of take it and run with it. I think if you're pretty, open and honest up front about what you need, you open up that platform for questions, then that individual is going to have no problem completing that task in the way that, either you're hoping for or a way that is going to surprise you for the good.
Yeah, definitely. Even like leading by example is huge as well with like the over communicating. I think it's great to not only have like a boss or somebody that's gonna say what needs to get done, but then seeing them do it as well and like doing it wholeheartedly and with passion is definitely something that's super great to see at events, especially because it's crazy. But Nicole, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, you can ask your question as well.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And introduce yourself if you'd like.
Oh, yeah. I'm Nicole Seidel. I'm a social media manager for an automotive company in town, but super interested in the sports industry and trying to find a way in at some point. So originally my question was for Allie, but Natalie, you mentioned you had some sports management classes as well. I was kind of curious how that degree and those classes kind of set you both up for success, and if there were any like key things that you guys really took away into your careers.
I think it's at the foundation, right? Like you take sport finance and sport marketing and sports events, like it really, and that's what I feel like, Aaron, you probably heard this 20 times from me, like, especially when you're starting out, like do a little bit of different things to kind of make yourself well-rounded. And then that way, you know, things will fall and stack up, you know, highlighting your strengths and then what you really like. So if you take something in an internship in sport marketing and you realize, oh, wow, I don't like this, it's not my strength. Okay, well then, you know, at least you have those skills. So if you go into your next position, you know, you have that in case someone needs it. But then, you know, you try something in sport operations and you really love it and you find a niche. But then you never know what sport marketing might have taught you. Yeah, I think it's just, it set the foundation. It helped kind of dip your toes into a little bit of everything. But you don't have to go into, I wouldn't say you have to go into sport management if you want to be in sports either. There's so many people in the industry that have had indirect routes. Like analytics is huge, especially for what I do in the NFL. So somebody that went into business and analytics focus could be working for the Buffalo Bills. It's just kind of figuring out what you like and just building on that.
Yeah, I want to echo that 100%. I do think that internships are a great opportunity, of course, to, you know, experience different parts of the industry. But honestly, the classes are what guided me to specific internships, which then guided me to my current position. So I really do think that, I mean, the classes in general, you know, at least for me, professors would bring in incredible speakers. You know, I was fortunate enough to be in downtown Chicago, so we had, you know, a lot of, it's definitely a sports city, so we had a lot of, you know, big names come and speak to us, which was huge. You know, I learned, all right, I'm maybe not into media and journalism, but I am definitely interested in the operations side of things. So I really think just getting everything you possibly can out of those classes, talking to the professors, talking to speakers that they might bring in, and really throwing yourself into the projects that you're working on. You know, if you're working on a marketing plan for a specific, you know, sports brand, whatever it might be, just really, you know, take everything that you're offered and run with it.
Awesome. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Definitely. And even too, I joke about this all the time. My least favorite thing ever was marketing. I hated it. I thought it was like pointless and dumb. And then all of a sudden I got a graduate assistantship that was literally marketing. And I was like, this is awesome. This is terrible. But literally everything I learned through marketing, I like remembered things from Allie's laughing. She's like, she was mortified. But I like remembered everything that Allie had taught me, and I had loved the events side. I was like, I want to do events. I want to do like operations, and it all got thrown together. And then even like moving forward now, like you have to not only be like good at marketing for other people, but also like yourself. Like you have to be able to market yourself and be able to tell people like, you want me in your company or you want me on your team because of like this, and this, and like, now let me show you once you get the chance. So it all kind of comes around. So definitely dipping your toes in all different things. Never thought I'd be in marketing, but it ended up being really impactful for me, if that helps as well.
You're killing it, Erin. It all worked out.
It did. I did not think it would at the time, but I'm very thankful for it. And then the next question, is it Shayna? Would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, it's Sheena, but it was close.
Sheena, okay.
Yeah, it was close.
So I knew.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I literally texted Ashton. I was like, "Is it Sheena or Shayna?"
No, it's fine. It's for both of you guys. What are some things that you guys do for professional development and like some personal growth things? Like, what are you working on like every day to just like get better at what you do or as a person?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's something that coming into the industry, I didn't really think about until I sat down with somebody at Intersport who challenged me to kind of focus at least once a week on what you did well this week, what you could have done better on, who you helped, who you could have helped, who helped you, and who could have helped you. And so every Friday I have a little calendar appointment that kind of, goes off in terms of just kind of like little self-reflections on the professional side of things. And that's really helped me to continue to grow. And then I think the biggest thing too is finding resources. Something like this is obviously huge. To learn about the different opportunities there are in sports. I joined WISE, which is Women in Sports and Events, and they put on events in a ton of big cities across the country where, they bring in different speakers and have networking events and all of that, probably like once a month. So you'll be able to find little things that you are able to do to just continue to grow and expand within the industry.
Yeah, fully agree. Personally, like I mentioned earlier, starting that gratitude journal of writing, kind of just using that as a moment to reflect. I reflect in the way of talking it out, and people that are on here will probably laugh because that's how I work through my, thoughts, ideas, feelings, but also using that as a place to what lesson did I learn today? What am I going to be better? What did I do really great at today? Kind of keeping those moments of personal growth from that. Certainly the formal conferences and networking groups that are out there. And then also staying in touch with people that I've worked with in the past. Again, just building off ideas, staying connected. What are they working on? What are they going through? I think there's something to be said about people that you've met along the way and worked with that I think will help develop you and your career as well. And then something I told Aaron maybe a couple months ago is now is the perfect time to just reach out to people. Not thankfully, I don't know. Positive. I try and take the positive, but we're at home and people are more accessible, and the people that have kind of come out and wanted to just talk are incredible. So I think now's the time more than ever that people are, yearning for that human connection, but then also willing to give their advice. So it's just kind of taking that risk to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. And I think, people will positively respond to that.
Yeah, I wish I could quote tweet that, retweet it, favorite it, everything. Super important. Literally how I got with Rising Coaches. Just it's been crazy, but super awesome. But just kind of to jump to just the women in sports, that's what we're all about. We're trying to, pursue this narrative with kind of a male dominated industry, especially in events. Can you guys just speak to basically just being a female in a male dominated industry like events and in planning and executing high caliber events?
Yeah, it's funny, this question all the time I laugh at, just because the first time I ever really noticed that I was in a male dominated industry, we had a giant all company meeting where we had to go to a different floor of our office, and we all pile in the elevator, and I look around and I'm the only girl amongst 20 men. And I was like, oh wow, I really do work in a male dominated industry. But I don't know. I mean, I think that honestly, at this point in time, we're seeing progression. You're seeing it with Michelle Roberts, who's the executive director of the Players Association. You're seeing it with people like Jamel Hill, whoever it might be. You're seeing those women in these leadership positions or these big name positions. And I really think that you just have to, find somebody that you admire and look up to. And just use that as inspiration. From there, you can pick people's brains, find other women in the industry like people are doing right now, pick their brains about how this is all working. I mean, it's just all about networking. But I do think that, the respect for women in the industry continues to grow. I mean, it's definitely a hurdle. It's definitely a challenge. But, I think the biggest thing that there can be is less questioning. I think that a lot of, males and even some females question you about your decision to work in sports, about your knowledge of sports, whatever it might be. If we can get away from questioning and just really listen, I think that you're going to find, all these women have such fantastic ideas of ways to just advance the industry in general. And so I think that networking and listening are maybe two of the biggest things where we can really continue to ramp up females in the industry.
Yeah, well said for sure, Natalie. I think power comes in numbers. So we're definitely getting there. But as you rise as a woman, take people along with you. It's not a solo act. You don't get there by yourself. But also, I mean, I have great relationships with the men in the industry, and they're probably most of the ones that have helped me get to where I am and help, build me up. And I mean, I would hope they would say this, but I don't think they see kind of that divide. And I find it empowering that they challenge me. It's kind of nice that it's not 100% or 99% women, because it's competitive, and that's what sports is. And I think that's why we all get in this industry, is we love to compete in some fashion. But it's just, kind of breaking the barrier for, some of those higher level positions. But building the community around you and just proving your worth and your talent, hopefully we'll just keep breaking down those walls.
Yeah, that's really, really good. You just mentioned, you have guys that you work alongside with that challenge you. We had a viewer that wants to ask, he works in the NBA and he's seeing more and more women, want to start coaching on the men's side, be on the men's side in operations. So as a guy, how can they continue to help bridge the gap and have more women apply and network with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Great point. The men in our communities can be our support and our advocates as well. It doesn't always have to be women supporting women. It could be men supporting women and women supporting men. Having that guy be a voice for her to say that, she is worthy, and maybe she's better at me than operations, and that's why she should have this position. And same thing for men going over to the women's side. Like, just because you're on the women's side of basketball doesn't mean it's any less than the men's. I think, you learn different things and you're still gaining the skills and networking and all those good pieces that we're all talking about. But just like trying to not have that gender kind of sticker all the time, just people supporting people.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I mean, I honestly don't have too much to add to that. I really do think I'm fortunate, in my position where it isn't any sort of divide, and it really is that idea of people supporting people and everybody has good ideas. And so, if there's a guy that wants to, help us out with the Under Armour women's volleyball game, like, absolutely, that's what we want. If there's a female in the company that wants to get involved on the Final Four events that we put on, like, I mean, that's just what you want to see, and those are the ways that are going to continue to advance women in sports in general, and then hopefully level out that playing field where there isn't really that divide, whether it's men getting involved in women's sports, women getting involved in men's sports, vice versa.
I think that's super, super great. Both amazing answers. I think a big thing too is getting away from like men going to the women's like coaching. Obviously, like my experiences with basketball, but a lot of I think stigma is like, oh, like they're not good enough to cut it on the men's side, so they go to women and coach there. And I think if we highlight and listen and talk to the people that are coaching women's basketball for the reason that it's just that's what they love and that's what they want to do, it definitely helps to break down that barrier as well. Something we kind of always like to do as well on our show is our points of pride. So our guests have had a little time to think about it, but just kind of, and I know you guys have hit on a lot about like your gratitude and journaling and just being very reflective about your journeys, but just kind of like what would you guys say are your points of pride? So just something that at the end of the day you can look on and say, like, whether it was a really good day or really bad day, just moving forward, what are your points of pride that you try to keep yourself grounded with?
I really liked this question a lot. I think the biggest one, and I think I touched on it prior, is just personal connection. I think that's the biggest thing where, no matter what kind of day it was, when I like lay down at night, I can think about, okay, I had a great conversation with, this vendor. I had, just an awesome day working with this coworker, or this athlete, personally came to me and thanked me for everything that I did. And that was huge. I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is just knowing that, what you're doing is going to change somebody's life. You might not think that in the world of sports because we're not, out here curing cancer or whatever it is, but knowing that, a small football skills challenge that I do is going to help a player get more exposure so that he might get drafted. Or it might, a high school sporting event might, put that kid in the limelight where he can get a scholarship. The smallest things, I think, is just really exciting to know that, hey, 20 years down the road, this kid might not remember it, but I will, his parents will, whatever it is. And that's something that just keeps me going.
Staying true to your values. I mentioned this before, but, not letting the points in the day or the people in the day just completely consume you. Can you look back at the day and say, okay, everything that I did and said, for the most part, I stuck to my values for that. And, I was trying to think of something kitschy, but like being aware. So, was I aware of everyone's ideas, opinions, feelings, and, trying to remember that, being authentic and my authentic self, I'm living that and breathing that. And then activating. Am I activating my passion and why I'm here and why that day for the Junior Olympics ceremonies, that I have that same feeling. And then activating relationships, activating them, professionally and personally.
Definitely. Yeah. Being a doer is something that's huge just in life in general, but especially in sports. Like, you just have to be willing and vulnerable and reach out. And the worst thing that's going to happen is someone says no or doesn't have time, but they have plenty of time right now. So I suggest everyone reach out to people and just ask for help or advice or anything. People are super willing to want to talk about themselves and to just help other people. So yeah, that was a good word for sure.
Yeah, I love what you said, Allie, about activating your passion. And I think just it goes along with what both of you have said the whole time, relationships, being personal, inclusive. And I think that's what sports is all about is sports, they always say we're not doing brain surgery. We're not doing rocket science. We're getting to do what fills us up every single day. We find joy in this profession. So I think you both hit on so many great points. So just in closing, me and Aaron both want to thank you for just taking time out of your day to share with us and give us a unique perspective on the event side of sports.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. No, this was so fun. I know Aaron and I got, randomly connected and this is awesome. I, not only to get to share, but to learn so much from Allie as well. This has been great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and credit to you two girls. I mean, you're killing it. You're doing it. You're activating. Keep a great platform for us to just talk and connect. So thank you.
Yes, definitely. We appreciate it.